Picture this, it's 1882. A massive British fleet sits off the coast of Alexandria, ready to strike. The fate of Egypt hangs in the balance. We often hear this story as a simple tale of colonial conquest. A powerful empire crushing a weaker nation. But what if I told you the real story is far more complex? That the British victory wasn't just won by their cannons, but was handed to them, in a way, by Egypt itself. This is the story of the betrayal of 1882. And how internal divisions led to the fall of a nation. To understand what happened, we need to go back a little. Egypt in the late 19th century was technically part of the Ottoman Empire, but it was ruled by a leader called the Khedive, who was drowning in debt to European banks. To pay these debts, he taxed his people heavily and gave foreigners huge control over Egypt's finances. This, as you can imagine, made a lot of people very, very angry. Out of this anger rose a powerful nationalist movement, led by a charismatic army officer named Ahmed Urabi. His message was simple and powerful: Egypt for the Egyptians. He and his followers wanted to end foreign control, create a constitutional government, and build a stronger, independent Egypt. The movement grew so popular that by early 1882, Urabi was essentially the de facto ruler of the country. He controlled the army, had the support of the people, and was ready to defy both the Khedive and the European powers. It was a moment of incredible hope and national pride. The stage was set for a new, independent Egypt. But here's where the cracks began to show. While Urabi had the people and the army, the old elite, the wealthy landowners, and the Khedive's inner circle were terrified. They saw Urabi as a threat to their power and privilege. They feared his popular reforms would strip them of their wealth and status. So, they started to whisper. They spread rumors, questioned Urabi's motives, and, most importantly, they secretly communicated with the Europeans. They saw the British not as invaders, but as potential saviors who could crush Urabi and restore their own power. Meanwhile, the Khedive Tewfik Pasha was playing a dangerous double game. Publicly, he seemed to support Urabi to keep the peace, but privately, he was desperate to get rid of him. He saw the British fleet as his ticket back to absolute power. When the British issued an ultimatum to dismantle the coastal forts at Alexandria, Urabi refused, ready to defend his country. But the Khedive saw his chance. He declared Urabi a rebel and fled to the protection of the British ships. This was the ultimate act of betrayal. At the very moment Egypt needed to be united against a foreign threat, its own head of state sided with the enemy. This split the country in two. Some army officers and officials remained loyal to the Khedive, while others stood with Urabi and the nation. This division caused chaos and confusion right when Egypt needed unity the most. When the British bombardment of Alexandria began, the Egyptian defenses fought bravely. But the internal sabotage had already done its damage. After the bombardment, the British landed their troops. Their key battle was at Tel El Kebir. On paper, the Egyptian army should have had a fighting chance. They were defending their homeland, but the divisions sown by the Khedive and the elite proved fatal. Military intelligence was leaked to the British. Supply lines were disrupted. Some commanders were hesitant, unsure of who to obey, Urabi or the Khedive. The British, guided by local traitors and facing a disorganized and internally conflicted army, achieved a swift and decisive victory. Urabi was captured, the nationalist movement was crushed, and Britain began its 70-year occupation of Egypt. It wasn't just British firepower that won the day. It was the internal conflict, the fear of the old elite, and the treachery of a leader who chose his own power over his country's freedom. The dream of Egypt for the Egyptians was shattered not just from the outside, but from within. It's a tragic lesson in how a nation's greatest enemy can sometimes be itself. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more hidden histories. See you next time.